Hi there. I had a bit of fun with the Jersey Evening Post cryptic crossword on Wednesday, the 16th of October 2024. I found it quite hard. It took me about an hour. Just sat with it. It took me a really long time to get my first clue, and I'm going to try and do them in the order that I did them. I started with 13 across, which was the first one that I thought, reading through them, that I thought, oh, I can do this. I didn't think I was ever going to finish it, but once I started to fill bits in, it all fell into place. Describing the land the ray destroyed, it's going to be an anagram of the ray, which is earthy, meaning describing the land. The land is distinctly earthy. I then went to 14 down. Sorry, I'm going to have to keep referring to my notes because I wrote down the order that I answered the clues. Ring us in here, maybe, to provide new accommodation. I don't know whether I got new accommodation first, provide new accommodation as rehouse, and then worked out what it was. And it was an anagram of us and here, and the ring is an O. So it's OUSHERE as an anagram of rehouse, meaning to provide new accommodation. I then went to 17 across. They're in charge of vocal support, and I spent ages trying to get there into charge, and all sorts of nonsense until I realised that it's just a cryptic definition, and it's lovely. It's cheerleaders who are in charge of vocal support. Of course they are. So that was the third clue I answered. The fourth one I answered was 16 down. This colonel has upset the old man. So it's an anagram of old man, meaning a kernel, and a kernel in the nut sense. And so it's almond, which is an anagram of old man. So that's number 4. The fifth clue I answered was 21 across. Candid manner out of doors. And it's a little hyphenated 4-3. And so it's open for candid, air for manner, and then open air meaning outdoors. So then I went to the sixth one I answered, which was 18 down. Where's 18 down? There's 18 down. Precise contribution to reflex actions. And it's buried within reflex actions. It's the end of reflex and the beginning of actions. I'm not sure if 2 is a good indicator of, maybe it's contribution to as the indicator, and precise is the definition. Anyway, it's exact, the end of reflex and the beginning of actions. So that was clue number 6. So then clue number 7 was 12 down. Discovered the amount of certain ingredient in honey drink. Well, honey drink is mead. So I was thinking about how I was going to get mead around this, and so I put MEA up at the top and then the D down at the bottom, and then another word for certain is sure, SURE, and so we've put sure into mead, and we've made measured, meaning discovered the amount. That was the 7th clue I did, wasn't it? So the 8th clue I did was 23 across, which I just sort of guessed. 7 disturbed the horses. It's something to do with horses, so I went with stud. I haven't yet checked to see if that is correct, but it fits, so fingers crossed. Then the 9th clue I leapt across to 22 across. Uniform ebb and flow at dusk. The ebb and flow is something to do with tides, and it's uniform, so it's even. So it's even tide whoops, eventide, meaning at dusk. The 10th clue I did was 8 down, which is this fella here. Hotels rather transform the look of the spa. Well, it's an anagram of hotels rather, and it's something to do with a spa, and I eventually came up with health resort as an anagram of hotels rather. That was the 10th clue I answered. Then the 11th clue was bizarrely was 1 down. I leapt to here, which didn't really have anything besides a larger quantity not used. I used a thesaurus and looked for synonyms for besides, and I came up with moreover. So I guess that is cheating, but I just needed a little bit of help, and I used a thesaurus for one other thing as well in a moment. Moreover, besides, and of course a larger quantity not used, more over, larger quantity not used. Then I went to 11 across. And this crossword has a distinctly sort of military World War II vibe, because this is about the Normandy invasion, or Operation Overlord. And so the status of one in charge of a vessel in Normandy invasion is overlordship. You have overlordship over the ship during Operation Overlord. I was quite pleased when I got that, and having that in mind was quite useful going forward, because there's 2 other, I think, vaguely military sounding clues. So that would have been 12. The 13th clue I answered was 6 down. Joining nothing up with a ruler. Well, because I'd got that I there, and I thought a ruler could be king, and joining is linking, and that is nil or nothing up. Nil up with ruler, linking is what you end up with. The 14th clue I answered was 15 across. I'm not sure I'm going to do this business of doing them in the exact order, but I just thought it was interesting because I really struggled, and then it all just sort of came together. 15 across, interwoven mass of allweed. I know what allweed is. It's kind of like kelp, and I know what interwoven means, and so I wrote tangle. But I think that the clue ought to work even if you don't know what allweed is. And interwoven mass of allweed, it is a tangle. They're both tangles, but I didn't like it very much. I thought there ought to be a bit more there to help you out. That's my opinion. And I still don't know if it's right, but I think it probably will be. 10 across was the next one I did, the 15th clue. 10 across is here. Extra payment for getting on public transport outside. So it's on with public transport around the outside. And public transport is bus. And it's bus around on, making extra payment or bonus. That was my 15th answer. 16th answer was 5 down. Oh yes. No drone could be so described. And so I was obsessed with the idea that this was some kind of a military drone, because you hear about drones all the time on the news. But then I realised that, of course, a drone is a type of bee, and no drone could be so described, and it's as busy as a bee. So that was quite nice. It didn't help a huge amount because I'd got most of the keyed letters anyway, but it was pleasing. I suspect that I then went to 3 across from there. What did I say that was? Was that the 16th clue? And the 17th clue that I answered was 3 across. took off the burial shroud inside, overcome with dismay. So I used a thesaurus again for burial shroud. Funnily enough, the first time I searched shroud, I didn't find pall, which is a word for a shroud. But when I sort of had a feeling that this might be appalled, I looked up pall in the thesaurus and it said shroud as a suggestion. And took off in this sense means copied, imitated, or aped. So you put aped around Paul and you end up with appalled. So the 18th clue I did was 4 down. And father's to taste the pie crust. So father's is pars. And then to taste is try. If you try it, you taste it, and you end up with pastry as the pie crust. Number 19, I did 9 across. What critics write about errant wives. So what critics write is the concise bit of the clue, and then about is re. I struggled a bit with this because it's an anagram, but it's a broken up anagram. It's re with an anagram of wives afterward, which of course is views, because critics write reviews. And then I did 1 across, which is the distinctive mark of an infiltrator, very World War II again, and it's a mole, being somebody who infiltrates an organisation, and also a distinctive mark. 2 down is a little bit of a guess. Embankment, I felt, was probably levee, but it says embankment is just right for early reception, and I don't know what that bit means. So any suggestions, and I would be very grateful. And then I'm not going to bother looking to see what order I did these in. Let's have a little look at them. Some of the cheap seats found in the church choir. I don't understand why they've included choir in this. I think what we're looking at is the end of cheap and the beginning of seats to make apse. An apse is a part of a church. It's a sort of curved bit with a domey bit on top. But I don't know that the choir necessarily have to be in it, so I don't know why it's in the church choir, not just in the church. And then 20 across, submarine pipeline for Underworld boss. I, right at the beginning, thought Underworld boss was Hades, but I was in the wrong tradition. That's Greek, and I should have been in Roman, and the Underworld boss is Pluto. And I didn't know about this, but I then looked it up. There is a Pluto pipeline, which was part of Operation Overlord. It was a fuel pipeline to provide fuel for the Allies during the Normandy landings. That has not quite finished us off. We've got 1 clue to do, 7 down. Again, yeah, this makes a film that needs cleaning up. Well, presumably it's a film of dust. Oh, it's always so exciting when that pops up, and I think, oh, I haven't made a complete Horlicks of it. I don't think, yes, that makes a film that needs cleaning up. I mean, dust needs cleaning up, and you get a film of dust. It was fair enough. I wasn't entirely happy with it, but it seems to be right. And that's got me 3rd on the leaderboard today, but of course I shouldn't be 3rd on the leaderboard because it's taken me all day. Well, no, it didn't take me all day. It was 1 sitting, but it did take me an hour, I should think, to get it all completely done. I expect there'll be some longer times because it's a tricky one. Bazaar, 46 minutes. A few people over an hour. I probably should be down here with Bazaar D and Boib. But because I did it on paper and then typed it in, I've ended up coming 3rd, which is deeply unfair, with all these clever people up at the top. So anyway, that was fun one. I enjoyed that very much indeed. Tomorrow I'm travelling up to Manchester, so I shall have a crack at this on the train. And hopefully I'll have a bit of Wi-Fi signal in my hotel in Manchester, and I will be able to stream it again live. I hope you are all keeping extremely well, and I'll see you at some point. Bye now.